important day, a very important discussion, and I'm joined by my amazing colleague, Soini Gray. She is on set, and I want to say congratulations, Soini, yes, because, I mean, we're not knocking bears around the corner. We're on set, in a professional setting, right, yes. And congrats, you are the Assistant Secretary for the Association of Caribbean Media, so kudos in that regard.
Thank you.
And we also welcome, via the Zoom line, Harvey Panka, President, Association of Caribbean Media. Mr. Panka, congratulations and good morning to you.
Thank you, Jason.
A very important day indeed, a very important day. And when we look at the Caribbean perspective, let me just probably start with the President here. Why is this day, World Press Freedom Day, an important one? I mean, obviously for us in the media, yes, but by extension outside of this fourth estate space.
I think this day, it is a pillar of society. Freedom of expression is a pillar of all democratic society, and we have to honor that. And this day exists because nations around the world don't honor this as one of the most important pillars for societies, for democratic societies, where people can express their opinion and impart ideas. So we have to cherish this, because if there is no freedom of expression, we can look around us around the world, why people are suffering.
That's right. And you know,
governments can do what they want.
And we can't afford for that, because when we consider Trinidad and Tobago and our particular rating on the global stage, we have actually moved up a couple notches, I would say, based on what I'm seeing here via Matt on page 10 of today's Guardian. They're suggesting here that there's been no media personality or personnel that would have been imprisoned, killed, or missing in 2021.
Yeah, that's a big deal. We moved from, I think we were at 31, and now we're at 25. But as my President Harvey was saying, it's funny, Harvey can talk about experiences in Suriname, and we recently had to issue a statement on Guyana, where our colleagues there were not as fortunate and have been subject to harassment and intimidation. Like one of the testimonies we got from our Guyana colleagues is that the person felt so threatened that they were starting to self-censor, and that's exactly what you do not want, because then you are preventing yourself from doing your job effectively. What
if the intimidation comes from within the walls of said media? Because again, sometimes a media agency there might be a particular agenda, and if someone, let's say, who is part of a team is not in keeping with the said agenda, is there any kind of recourse for that kind of, let's say, internal threat?
So I'm not on the MAT executive, but my nomination to the Association of Caribbean Media Workers was supported by MAT. What I would tell you is media associations are important for multiple reasons, and one of them is also mentorship. Because if you have a community of professionals, if you're not getting the right type of guidance within your specific media house, you have an opportunity to turn to your colleagues in the media association, locally and internationally, for additional support and guidance.
That's right. And you know, I want to ask Mr. Panka, because I want to kind of keep it in that particular vein. I know, well, Soini would have mentioned there's some challenges out there in Suriname, in Guyana. What's the rest of the Caribbean? What's the outlook for the rest of the Caribbean as it relates to media workers, journalists, you know, practicing their particular trade, their craft, and trying to speak truth to authority and power?
I think overall, it does look good overall, but we have those little fire in countries like Suriname, Guyana, and other countries in the region. So we have to be awake all the time. All the time we have to be awake to look after the freedom of expression, to look after our colleagues when they are in danger, when something is bothering them, because you know, it is a thin line. So he was talking about self-censorship. It doesn't have to come from the government or from media owner or media bosses. It can come within from yourself. And I think the environment would play a leading role there, because like Saini said, if you're threatened by I don't know what you can say, like we had this issue here in Suriname where a certain news department would say it was government, state-owned news media TV station. Journalists there would say, you know, I would not go on and cover items that will put the government in a certain way. But you know, when the story comes to the editor, then they will yes, make a mess of my story. And then I wouldn't stand behind that story. So I'm stopped reporting about that story. But that's not good. That's not a good thing when journalists starting censoring themselves.
You know, I want to put an interesting one on the discussion, Harvey and Soini, and I probably will start with Soini on this one, because in a business, the business that is media, in the attempt to sometimes bring the story out first, there are some media houses, and this is something not only within the region, but across the globe, there might not be proper vetting of the said story. You know, you want to bring it out first, and because of that, sometimes inaccurate stories or fake news will step into the mainstream. How do we address that? Is that a major part of discussions when you all sit down and meet within the association?
Not even just in the association, but in the daily newsroom process. That's an age-old battle, to be first or to be accurate, you know, and you strive for accuracy, you know. So if we have to take a little more time just to make sure that we have the details right and we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's, that's the ultimate goal, because you hurt your credibility if you're consistently first but wrong. Then you're not first anyway.
Yeah.
So that's not even an association-only conversation. That is a daily conversation, especially when you have like a breaking news situation like happened on Friday. You wanted to be sure, how do we handle this responsibly?
That's right. Harvey, what's your view there? Because again, that's one that we can negotiate. As Soy said, you know, Soini said, I mean, to me personally, I'd rather hold a strain and make sure it's accurate before we bring it out to say that we're first. And I mean, we live in a fake news era, and we would have seen recently on the international media landscape where, well, at least one of the two personalities who were dismissed, he was part of an agency that would really spew lots of stories that were inaccurate. I'm talking about Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson.
Tucker, I'm talking about Tucker. I mean, I saw that development. I mean, the Don Lemon one a bit unfortunate after 17 years of service, but Tucker, I was like, ooh, okay, interesting.
You need to read the variety story on Don Lemon. He's not that instant.
Yeah, no, I know you're not too innocent, but you know, I was like, wow. So, Harvey, your say on that whole fake news development, that world we live in now.
You know, a few months ago, me and Soini, we were on this training in Trinidad, and Reuters. This training was done by IMF and Reuters. So one thing I remember the most was this sentence: "Be first, but first be right." So when I came back to Suriname, you know, I went on the news department and I wrote it in big letters on the whiteboard. You know, because everybody, you know, in this time when we have a landscape of a lot of media outlets, everybody wants to be first. We want to be first so much that we forgot about the first rule of journalism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We forget about that. Yeah. So and at the other hand, we have social media. Sometimes social media, sometimes I say social media is a very good invention, but also a very bad one.
Yeah, because sometimes there's no vetting there, and people just run with anything.
Yeah,
it's a very bad one. And you know, the community gets fed by a lot of information, So people, most of the time don't know what is true or what is not. So I think it's our role,
of course,
as journalists to bring that distinction, to bring out the truth, like what we've learned to bring through journalism.
I love what Harvey just said. Harvey said, "Be first, but first be right."
Yeah.
Harvey, I'll come to you for the closing remarks in a few. I want to ask Soini just to comment on this year's theme. Just give you your perspective on the theme, and if you could just put it into your words, what does the theme mean to you this particular time around?
So it's really important that journalists remember that their work is most importantly a public service, especially TV journalism. I think sometimes people think it's very glamorous because, you know, you're on air and you might have to put on a lot of makeup and lights and all of that. But our work fundamentally is a public service. People need to know what is going on so that they can make practical decisions about their life and also more important decisions as well. And the statement also talks about media being a vehicle for human rights because bad things can keep on happening if there's no light shone upon them. And that's basically what we have to do.
That's right.
You know, shine that light so that, you know, if we're having issues with gender-based violence, we have to make it abundantly clear that this is not just one random thing. Yes, this case is important, but also there are several cases and you have to put it in context. The crime conversation that we're having, we really have to try and do it responsibly, because there are multiple, you know, reasons for crime. There are multiple solutions, and then there's also a lot of noise. Yeah. And that hard work of trying to dampen that noise and let the important information get to the forefront is really challenging. You're not always going to get it right, but at least you have the next day to learn from your mistakes and get it right. And people hold us accountable. We are not allowed to act with impunity. The public is going to tell us when we've gotten it wrong. Public officials tell us when we've gotten it wrong. And we have to sit with that and make sure that we get it right the next time.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, Harvey, I'll give you the closing statement. Again, just your perspective on this year's theme. And the theme, I guess, is a shaping of future of rights.
Yes.
That's right. Harvey, you have the last
Thank
thing.
you, Jason. I want to share a part of our statement we issued today of the observance of World Freedom Day, freedom of expression, if that's all right with you.
Of course, go right ahead.
Now, World Press Freedom provides an opportunity to focus on the immense importance and connection of freedom of expression to all other human rights, such as education, health, freedom of movement, rest and leisure, and the free will of the people to elect their leaders. In the absence of freedom of expression, more often than not through the media, the public cannot be properly educated and informed about the other human rights to which they are entitled. Therefore, the Association of Caribbean Media Workers, ACM, urges Caribbean decision makers to utilize the rapid advances in social media as a mass communication tool to facilitate the two-way flow of information on all public interest subjects that touch and concern the many facets of other human rights. The ACM takes a dim view of the increasing practice of decision makers, especially those in the political sphere who have resorted to one-way communication through tweets and Facebook, video and text posts. This approach appears to be a clear avoidance of scrutiny at press conferences and interviews. We urge an end to such a practice that robs the public of details that will potentially allow them to make rational decisions. These deficiencies in freedom of expression are leading to dysfunctional societies.
Harvey, I want to thank you so much for your time. All the best and congrats, and let's continue our great work, you know, to be that light, as Soyuni said, in sometimes a place and moments of darkness. All the best to you, Harvey, and Soyuni. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much.
Soyuni,
take care, Harvey.
She got a long day today. She's heading across the radio now to continue the discussion on Freedom FM. Yeah, it's a long one.
Oh, God.
Handle it. Hey, you're assistant secretary now, you know. Rule and function.
Oh, God.
Rule and function, rule and function.
I just wanted to say that if you want to find out more about ACM, we are on Facebook, and our website is acmpress.org.
Association of Caribbean
Media Workers.
Fantastic.
Media Workers.
Media Workers, well done. Soyuni, thank you so much, and to Harvey for coming on. We come back with some of the features before we head to the 7 a.m. news update. See you soon.